so things are still pretty fresh in mind for me. But if you want to bring up the stream yourself, you'll be able to see what I'm talking about as I'm kind of working on things if you want to vibe with me for a while.
Streaming. How the fuck do I bring up the stream?
You go to Twitch and you look it up. There's a link in stuff in my Discord. I have been told apparently viewing on mobile shows a black screen though, unless you look through YouTube.
Okay, I am gonna try it on PC. Technology makes me a boomer.
To be all fair, I know I don't usually watch live streams myself, so I'm not the best at navigating Twitch or anything as well.
I don't think I had ever used Twitch before joining this server.
Honestly, neither have I, and it's not as a viewer, it's as a streamer.
I'm on your home page.
Yeah. Can you
Where do I see the stream?
Does it say live now anywhere?
It says Farron was taken is offline.
Oh, that's the old Twitch. I had to create a.
God fucking damn it! Okay.
I had to create a new one due to authentication shenanigans with mobile when I moved back to Australia from North America.
Okay. Where's the link for the new one?
It's just in stuff in my Discord. It's literally just Maldoniya.
Oh, I was looking at pinned messages in general.
Ah, okay.
You should maybe get rid of that. I mean, it's my bad, but you should get rid of that.
Honestly, I didn't even realize it was there, so thank you for informing me. Let me see. There we go. That is done.
And I'm actually helping. I was actually helping the. You know how I was saying I was doing the other, just with the school D&D club. Kind of one of the admins for the school club is doing his own system. And I kind of just joined a playtest for shits and giggles for fun.
I mean, now's the great
playtest.
time
I mean,
to tell me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, the playtest. I preferred our group. I'm not sure if it was the system or if it was. I think it just. I don't know, but the system itself was good. And I enjoyed making builds for it. I do. One thing I really like about TTRPGs is like the making builds aspect. As you've seen a little bit, I like making ridiculous, stupid, meme builds. So what I'm doing to help him out a little bit, because his system is a little more fleshed out, is basically I am making kind of just flavorful builds, not necessarily super powerful. Like, you know, in D&D 5e, they'll talk about like quick builds.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not making meme builds. I'm making like actual. I'm just going for flavor on the builds, unless I see something, and then like for balancing. If I'm building and looking at abilities and I see something that looks broken, then what I do is I'm basically trying to break it as much as humanly possible, just to show how dumb it can be, and if it ends up being way too overpowered, then it gets nerfed.
See, that's an interesting point you actually bring up pretty much immediately, because with the system I'm making, there isn't really going to be builds for characters, so to speak. So basically,
yeah,
it's gonna
before we get into me telling you a bit about this, I'd like to hear basically just everything, like what you were about to tell me, but then like everything else, like that you have planned out. Just everything, yeah, just everything.
Well, This project, we'll call it the Maldoniya project for convenience, is basically going to be a kind of multi-phase process, which is kind of separated into a few different platforms, so to speak. So when I had the others in with me earlier today, pretty much discussing about the worldview, and how there's going to be like three main kind of worldviews. So one's going to be like the high fantasy one, then there's going to be a future modern sci-fi techie world with like supernatural heroes and villains and that kind of stuff. And then there's going to be like a super far future like space galactic empire kind of shit going down too.
Were you by chance
Yes.
inspired a little bit by Ready Player One?
No.
Okay.
I have like taken.
Just asking because they have the same thing going on in their VR world where there's like designated areas for that.
Yeah, like I mean, realistically, one's future, one's past, one's present, so it's not really all that complex. But yeah, I mean, the thing is with it is it's such a massive kind of system that having those kind of free designated worldviews pretty much allows people to do whatever they would want, however they would want, essentially. And the goal for the system itself, like the play system, is to have the same system be compatible between all three kind of worldviews, so to speak. So if you have like different weapons types, different equipment types, different kind of like magic or technology systems in between them, in terms of like gameplay, they should still theoretically play the same, but with a different kind of flavor, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's daunting, but definitely doable, and something that would be fun to work on too.
Yeah. I mean, you say it's daunting, but to me, what is daunting is D&D. There's a rule for everything, and if there is no rule for something, you either have to search for community census for a rule or create a rule yourself, and that's basically takes away a lot of player agency and creativity and freedom, which is another thing I was talking to the others about before, and that brings me back to the class builds and class archetypes, because if you're like a person with the power of fire, you aren't learning the spell for Fireball or the spell for Fireball or any of that other kind of random shit like Firewall. You basically just have the innate power of fire at your disposal. That is it, and it is up to you to creatively use that in any form or matter that you see fit.
Okay, I like that a lot. I think you might be able to draw some inspiration from the other system I was telling you about, because the magic does sound very, very similar. And the one thing I think I mentioned in my messages is that, to me, was the thing I liked the most of that playtest I did, was the way the magic system works. And it sounds like it's not the same, but similar principles.
Yeah, because basically the magic system itself, fire isn't magic, it's a part of nature. So to use fire, one would actually contract with an elemental, in this case, so be an elementalist. The actual magic system, I delved briefly into the others with before as well, is going to be based on physics. So it's the power of thermodynamics, kinematics, electromagnetism, things like that. The energies and properties that make up the world are the magic systems, and you basically specialize in one magic system, and you kind of get control over that to a varying degrees.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, that's I'm trying to think of, it doesn't matter, but I like books or anything that has like a more fleshed out, more explainable system of magic like that. I like that a lot.
It's going to be very systematic in terms of like actual how things are used. Like, it's not just going to be, oh, you can use a fireball because it's magic and you know how to use magic. It's, okay, this is the system of magic, this is how it can be used and utilized. You can do anything within this confine, but not anything outside of it. So you can't just make up spells willy-nilly for no reason.
Yeah, okay. It sounds almost like a couple magic systems. One rule that is common in a lot of fiction is magic can do it in different ways and more accelerated, but magic can't produce anything or do a task that couldn't be done without magic.
Yeah, no,
So if
I
it's
get
based
that
off the
completely.
rules of the world, like physics, like if it's like thermodynamics is one of them, it's not going to break the laws of physics. It's just using them differently.
Advantage. That's actually a very good way of pointing it. Thank you for articulating it as such. But yeah, so there's going to be a lot in terms of the gameplay elements for like how balancing and damage types and all of that works, but a lot of the actual gameplay construction and elements and whatnot are going to be taking place behind the scenes off stream. But the actual streaming process is mostly going to be the world building itself, and at some point maybe potentially doing some play testing once we got a system going, and maybe a podcast for the players to like discuss things as well.
So you're saying the streams, like what we're helping with, will be more world building and less the system itself. Is that the general idea?
Well, if you see the little hidden text channel I have on Discord, that is more so for discussing the gameplay and playtesting elements.
Yeah, so you have creative workshop world building, and then we have the hidden Maldoniya.
Yes, that's the
Or
one.
Maldoniya. I got it. Yeah. So world building, we're talking about in specific those three: the high fantasy, the more modern one, and then the futuristic one.
Correct. But with that said, we aren't worrying about the later two for now, because we are starting the good old high fantasy, because that's... I mean, that's what I personally enjoy and love the most. But
yeah, same here.
yeah,
I have such a strong bias towards fantasy.
Yeah, nah, I've always been a...
I do like
fantasy kid.
sci-fi though, but
I've always been a bit less into the sci-fi. Like, I prefer the future kind of modern hero and villain kind of supernatural stuff over future sci-fi, because that other stuff just feels like so far away and separate from our own reality, you know? And that's why some people love it, but it also makes it harder to relate to, in my opinion.
yeah, I don't necessarily enjoy it. Although there are just some undeniably, like there are some like things like I love Dune. I love Have you ever read The Foundation?
No.
It's like one of the. It's an old book. But it's seen as one of like the OG, one of the best sci-fi works. You should really read it. Isaac Asimov's Foundation series. I would highly recommend it.
Yeah,
But that's a tangent.
Most of my reading tends to be web novels. So in terms of sci-fi, the big one I've read is called Star Odyssey, and it's a bit interesting because it's a cultivation novel, like the Chinese cultivation system, but it's set in like...
I don't know much about. Like I know what cultivation is, but I've never actually read one.
Yeah, but it's based in outer space, basically, and it has a lot of politics and a lot of intrigue and like kingdom building, and it's a very interesting take on the genre. I personally like it a lot, although I do understand it's a bit controversial to some enjoyers of the genre, especially because they don't really utilize space properly in the terms of the third dimension.
I see. Yeah. Okay. If you like the world building, though, I again would recommend The Foundation, because there's not really like a main character, or it's again not a traditional one. It focuses on basically the rise of a civilization.
For sure.
And like I think the first book is how they weaponize religion to grow their civilization. The second is how they weaponize like economics, and the third I forget. But
Yeah, no.
the third, I guess, is fucking space magic. Right?
The Force. No, that
What?
does, the Force. That does sound pretty interesting, though.
Anyway, that's yeah. So, what is it that you wanted to? Well, what is it that you were thinking we'd talk about for this stream?
Well, if
Before we
you
get-
can see my screen, I'm kind of picking up a bit where I left off before. So, a bit of a recap here. So, there's going to be like 5 major continents in this world. So, you've got the northern, the central, the eastern, the southern, and the western. And we kind of looked at and spoke about the Norse continent briefly, which is going to have a lot of Scandinavian inspiration and North mythos. But the central continent is where we're kind of starting the full process, because this is probably going to be the strongest area to a traditional like high fantasy medieval kind of archetype with like nobles and knights and shit like that. But it's also going to be the place with the most variance in human cultures and interaction, where things can go very, very wrong, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I am very excited reading this.
Yeah.
This is bringing out my inner nerd so much. I love it. I love it so much.
That's why you're here, to nerd out with me together. So, with that said, yeah, so we have a little bit of a short list here for nations that we're going to use for the inspiration of cultures and whatnot. So we've got the good old British Empire back in like Victoria era, but we're gonna make it like, in addition to like the great like naval fleet of the Brits, which started colonialism and all that other stuff, there's also going to be a bit of a steampunk element to some of it as well. So we're going to have like maybe some airships, some railways, and some good old like revolvers and like flintlock action rifles, stuff like that. Nothing too overpowered, but enough to bring an interest of firearms into the world. But yeah, so they're going to be a bit separate. Basically, right now, the theory crafting of the continent shape is going to be like an upside down crescent moon. So we're going to have like more of the steampunky Brits off to an island to the west, with more of the like medieval knights and nobles and kings and royalty on the kind of main continent itself on the western side. So they are going to be bordered by the Frenchies, and I was thinking earlier about
Frenchies.
Yes. So I was thinking earlier about I wanted one of these to be like a magic kind of kingdom, and I wasn't really fully sure which one I wanted to have to be the magic users, but I think the French may be the most fitting application for the magic system I have in mind here. Either them or the Germans. Because at first I was thinking...
Have you considered having a variety of them using a variety of different kinds of magic, or specializing in a variety of different kinds of magic?
That is definitely a thing we can do for sure. For now, I'm more so just trying to come up with like a centralized focus for each nation individually, just to start building some of the building blocks for who they are as a people and what kind of culture they have. But yeah. No,
so the French. Were you thinking the French could be a bit of a magocracy almost?
A what?
Like if, like, okay, so I guess this is a bit bleeding from my public affairs, but different forms of government. So if the Spaniards are like Templars and Inquisitors, I forget what the specific word for it is, but a society where the ruling class is the church.
Yes. No. Thank you for bringing that up. That's exactly
Is a theocracy. Theocracy. That's the word.
That is exactly what I'm intending.
Yeah. So if that's like if the Spaniards are the theocracy, right? The Roman one would be I don't know, where the ruling class is the military, almost like a society right after a coup, where the military has taken over.
Yes,
then this would actually... a mitocracy would be like a society where the mages are the ruling class.
For sure. No, that is a great contribution, actually. Thank you for bringing that up, because I intended from the beginning to have those different kinds of political systems in play for a lot of these different powers here. So yeah, let me go down to the Spaniards, and I will add in theocracy while it's on point. But yeah, no, I'll kind of delve more into the political spectrum of things as we flesh them out a little further. But no, for sure, that is indeed what I did have in mind. But I was thinking with the Germans that they would be more like industrialized nation. But I'm thinking what they might do is maybe we can have I had like two different applications of magic in mind. One is like the practical application of magic, as in like mages actually using magic on the field and shit. And then the other is magic engineering. So you have more theoretical mages who aren't as well versed at using magic themselves. But basically how the magic works is gonna involve like magic circles and shit. So basically what these mages would do would be to inscribe these magic circles on objects as a form of enchantment to produce the magical effects through the objects themselves.
Okay, so it's kind of like artifice.
I guess, yeah.
Like artificers.
Yeah, so...
I like it. Okay.
So we'll have the Brits...
Like a mix of magic and engineering.
For sure. So we'll have the Brits have their, like, their medieval knights, and they're gonna use, like, aura and shit for, like, sword slashes for the sky and all that other kind of sword bullshit.
Wait, they're gonna use what?
Aura. So basically, this is, again, influenced by a few of the random web novels I've read over the years. Aura is like the manifestation of your will as a swordsman. It's like a fighting spirit or battle force, battle aura. It's like when you go Super Saiyan and you have the gold aura kind of around you, but you can control that aura and use it as a kind of energy as a weapon.
Okay, so we're finally balancing martials and casters with anime swordsmen, where like the honing of a I don't know, I heard someone describe it well, but where once you hone a simple skill to a certain level, it becomes magical, basically. Yes. In effect.
Yes. So swing a sword 10,000 times, and after that you split the sky or whatever bullshit. But yeah, no. Martial classes are going to be a lot more dominant.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, it's always been tough to balance swords in a world where people can fling fucking fire. So
for sure,
I think anime swordsmanship is honestly the best answer to that.
And that is the best way of describing it, anime swordsmanship. But yeah, so I've got a pretty good idea in mind for each of these kind of nations that are going to be established on this continent, except for the Celts, because I really love Celtic culture, and I really want to represent them somehow, but I'm not really sure of what like kind of role they can really play, because the central continent being what it is basically like a hotbed of all these different cultures and identities of different beliefs and systems that are kind of grating up against each other.
I can't hear you. 1 second.
Oh, good.
This is me being a dumbass. I may or may not have been moving my computer to where the charging thing is and grabbed it by the power button and turned it off. And then when I rejoined on my phone, I could not hear you, so I am so sorry.
No worries, buddy. Let me know when you are all set.
I can see that you're talking from the game, but I can't hear anything.
That's okay. I will assume you will tell me when you are good and ready to continue conversing.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry, my brain. Sorry.
No worries at all. Can you hear me now, buddy?
Yes. I
Good to know.
probably rewind to 1 minute before I said I couldn't hear you.
No, that's okay. Pretty much, I was just kind of saying, of all these nations we have on this list, I got a pretty good idea of a purpose or identity for each of them, essentially. But I'm not really sure what I would want to do with the Celts.
Have you okay, I think, when I think of that, I think more nature-y. Just looking at the Celtic pantheon.
Yeah, I think I really love a lot of Celtic myths, so I want to incorporate them somehow. But I'm thinking of a lot of nature-based stuff, like druids or something like that.
I don't know why I think this, but have you considered? This is really weird, but have you considered doing a weird combination of Celts and Mayan?
That will bring me to the southern continent. The southern continent is going to be largely South American inspired, so I'm going to have a lot of Aztec, Maya, Inca stuff down there.
Okay, so you already have Aztec somewhere else.
So let me look up something real quick, because you may be curious. What is the origin of druids? Because the origin of druids is rooted in ancient Celtic cultures. There we go. Druids and shit. Okay, the Celts are going to be druids. That is... Yeah, no, that's very apt. I know I
Wait,
wanted...
were you...
Mm-hmm.
Were you looking that up to show me, or did you actually not know that until just looking it up?
I did not know that until looking it up, because I know druids got were referenced in Arthurian legends, so I assumed their origin was from Western Europe, UK, but I didn't know the central focal point of them was the Celtic history. So no, that is very good, because I've wanted to do something with druids somewhere, but I just wasn't sure where that would be exactly. But this feels very perfect, and that will give some reason for animosity between themselves and the nearby Brits, who are developing their innovations of technology and whatnot as well, since they are a more nature-based people, and they probably want to fend off any kind of expansion from the Brits who are expanding out to the islands westward.
The Wild Hunt is Celtic too, or a Celtic myth.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, but I've always known, like, I've always wanted to explore Celtic mythos a bit more, like outside of like the big stories from like the Greeks and the Norse and the Egyptians. Celtic's mythos is like the top one of like all the other cultures and whatnot in the realm. I've always kind of wanted to dive into more.
So it's a lesser known one, so that's interesting.
Well, I think they get like a reasonable amount of promotion, but there's not enough people who really like notice or respect it or appreciate it as enough as they should, in my opinion.
Yeah. For the Mayan ones you said in the other one, because I mentioned it,
Yes.
just kind of interesting tangent. I went to a bunch of like old Aztec ruins in Honduras and near Mexico in that area, but I low-key forget most of the details I learned.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. But I did find it interesting, so I would be interested in maybe doing some more research on that.
Yeah, no.
If that's something you have in another place.
Yeah, no. I mean, we're doing the southern continent for sure at a later point. I think I'm saving. After this, it might make the most sense to do the western continent, just because of how the kind of cultures interact and how the thing's gonna flow. But yeah, no, I'll keep that in mind for the southern continent for sure.
Sounds good.
In the meantime, I think that.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, no, I was just thinking that's like a pretty good basis for all of these people.
Is there anything else you wanted ideas on for these while we're here, looking at the central continent and stuff? You don't have to. We don't have to discuss it all right now, but if you just kind of tell me, maybe I can think about it. Like, you know, as I'm doing my chores or trying to go to sleep.
Well, I'm definitely gonna have a like a knight academy as well as like a magic academy.
Knight Academy and Magic, and this is like I assume this is one thing that I like for that kind of thing is you could have it be I mean, a school that teaches magic and is well known for that would be a powerful political force in its own right. Like, if it's not really associated with any of these civilizations, but kind of has its own
For sure.
influence and is in the central continent, or were you thinking it would be like in one of these nations, like the mage one, the Mandracracy potentially would have their own like academy, and that's what it would be for.
Yeah, like I think there's a merit or a basis for like each of these nations to have their own prestigious educational institutions or whatever. But how I see it is there's going to be like different political ties between a few of these nations as well. So I'm thinking that like the Brits / French / German inspired cultures, for instance, while they may have their own like vices and discord in between themselves, they may also be like loosely allied as well, and like provide some kind of exchange of education and information for the betterment of themselves to help fend off some of the other threats together, basically.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ooh, I'm actually gonna be. I don't know. I find it kind of funny. You know, I'm gonna be going back to school, and I'll probably honestly be, as I'm in my politics classes, be thinking about how it can apply to this. And I find it kind of funny that the first thing I'll be applying my schooling to will be world building. Not exactly what I saw myself doing with it, but
hey,
it's more fun than what I saw myself doing with it.
It definitely makes learning more enjoyable if you find something fun to do with it rather than just work, you know? But,
Yeah.
yeah, just getting back to your, like, academy point, it's a fair point, like, it might be influential enough to be its own kind of thing separate from state, and there is merit to that. But at the same time, it's like also it's gonna have to be somewhere as well. So
Yeah, and they'll have their own. Have you read the Witcher books?
no, I haven't played the games either.
Yeah, I mean it's not in the games anyway, but there is. I mean, The Witcher. First of all, the mages in The Witcher, there's a couple of ways to balance mages. Some of them is making them not really much more powerful than the other people. In The Witcher, they're absurdly powerful. They're just pretty rare. But the biggest school for magic called Aretuza, it is allied with like a couple kingdoms, the northern kingdoms, which is basically like, I would say the northern kingdoms would be a group probably as big as like this central continent. So it would be like, this school would be allied kind of with the central continent over the other ones. But they also are doing their best to kind of manipulate all of these kingdoms and amass power themselves, even though they might help these kingdoms even in war and risk their own students. They still have their own goals.
I mean, that brings up another question from a different point of view. Would the French-inspired Magic Nation have built the tower, or would the nation be built around the tower, if that makes sense? So which came first, the nation or the school? Because that would definitely influence the exertion of power, if that makes sense.
Yes, if you want to have it as the... so you said the French was the magic one, right?
Yeah, sure.
Well, which was it that we were talking about? It was the French.
So the
right?
French will be like more practical applications of magic, and German more magic engineering.
Yeah, okay. It is from a storytelling perspective. It gets the point across very well how influential magic is in the kingdom. If the kingdom itself was built around the school.
For sure.
That would probably be the easiest way to communicate that.
But,
is it the best way? Maybe not.
I also kind of like the idea of it maybe being built closer to the border between the French and German, because even though it's like a bit open between some of the kingdoms, like the French and German cultures will definitely benefit the most from it, which is probably why they've developed the way they have. Like maybe the French kind of empire did indeed build the magic tower, but it's because of the magic tower that they've become such a magical nation.
Yeah, for sure. And I would assume, depending on how readily accessible magic is, that doesn't mean it'll be the only one. The other kingdoms could have their own, but the French and Germans could be the biggest and the best, and like the most advanced with the best schooling, for example.
For sure, because how I kind of want to do it is I like the 7-year period of like Hogwarts magic schooling. So I'm thinking it's maybe
Is Hogwarts
national...
7 years?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it's just that Harry never did 7 years because he kind of dropped out.
Before the final year, yes. But
yeah, okay.
he did 6 of the 7 years, I think.
Yeah, that's more than I thought.
But yeah, no. So I don't know if you technically finish the 6th year, because that's when fucking... Spoiler alert, Dumbledore dies, but
Right.
yeah, so... Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe it'll be more like national institution after all, maybe with the exchange program and exchange for exchange students in the other nations. So you have like the Knight Academy in the Brit Empire, and the Brits might want some majors of their own, so they like allow some of the French guys to study the Knight's aura schooling in exchange for learning some magic. So even though they don't really want to give away each other's secrets, they also want to learn each other's secrets. So it's kind of a win-win, double-bladed sword or whatever.
You know, that also opens up a really good avenue for espionage between nations. Because if they want to get the knowledge from the other countries without giving away their own, you know, if they could get the information used for professional magic schooling without having to give away their own secrets of their schools, that would be a pretty big advantage, right?
So you'd probably have like a lot of foreign students sponsored to enter these schools, and maybe that's why they're limited to schooling the youth to try to mitigate spies and espionage by filtering out adults and limiting it to children, because maybe it's less likely for children to be treated as spies, which creates more reason to create children spies, which creates the moral and ethical dilemma of spy kids.
I like that a lot. I mean, it's up to you if you want to write it down, but that sounds brilliant, actually.
Oh, for sure. Like, I'll definitely do something with that, for sure.
Actually, do you want me to take notes as we're discussing it?
Yeah, you can if you like. I mean, the Discord channel in the server, that's kind of what that's there for, so you can type whatever you like there if you want.
Okay, I'm just gonna quickly, because I don't know, this is kind of like brainstorm spit, but once it's more fleshed out, I might post it. I'll make a Google Doc and I'll share it with you, and you can kind of pick at what you like.
Or what you can do is this software I'm using, Milanote, it basically allows me to share what I'm kind of working on. So if I come back here, you'll see you've got the little eye up here and the little shared thing here. I can share this with you and you can create your own little board here for your ideas if you want to put anything down. Similar to how Rara and Simeon have theirs here, if you like.
Okay. Wait, where are Rara and Simeon's?
Just here.
Am I looking at the wrong stream?
I mean, what do you see? Do you see where it says Simon Swamp and Ra War?
No. I'm on Maldoniya Worldbuilding. Maldoniya. Like the Twitch channel is Maldoniya, and the stream title is Worldbuilding : Maldoniya.
Okay, so are you actually watching the stream?
Yeah, like full screen. I'm watching it.
Do you see where it says Maldoniya TTRPG system at the top?
No, it says Central Continent.
Okay, that's...
with a list of the continents. Like the top, it's like continent is an upside down section: medieval Brits, Victorian Brits, French, German, Celtic, Greek, Roman.
That's not what I'm showing right now. So when you maybe had that little hiccup earlier, you might have gone back in the stream. So if you want to see if you can fast forward a bit.
Let me reload, because I'm at the front, but it doesn't seem to be adding more time, if you know what I mean.
That's okay. You can refresh quickly if you like. Step
1, learn how to use Twitch.
Well, If you like, I can take a screenshot for you.
No, I should probably figure this out.
Well, I've just sent one to you anyway. But, yeah, so you'll see where it says, Fingo's ideas and Fingo's ideas.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's just laggy or what. But yeah, I can download that software and use it to brainstorm. I see what you mean now, for sure. Simon Swamp, I love the name.
Yeah, so I can create your own little board, and basically you can just do whatever you want in there, and people will be able to see it whenever.
Yeah, okay. One thing, I just had an idea, because we were talking about the spies. A lot of the nations seem to be focused on different aspects of might, be it magic or physical, or from the Celtic, more like druidic, more naturey. Is there? It might not be in the central continent, but do you have a nation that is particularly good in espionage?
No. So maybe that's what we can have the kind of Russian or Ottomans do, maybe.
Sounds perfect for Russians.
Yeah, because I imagine one of those, since the central continent's like as big of a hot bed as it is, there's a lot of conflict, a lot of tension. So there'll be definitely something like that going on there, because I was talking to the others briefly earlier, and originally the kind of German-inspired borders on the German nations basically bordering the Russian nation, and we're briefly mentioning how there might be like spying between the two. So yeah, maybe the Russians are the spies.
Although, come to think of it, it might make more sense for like someone who for like a group that specializes in spying. It might make more sense if that was a powerful but independent faction that's not its own nation.
I will have independent factions and organizations at a later point, but basically, for the most part, I really want to have like a large inspiration of culture more than anything on a nation basis, just so I want to make sure like I have one of everything I want in terms of that in each of these locations. And then once that's kind of sorted, I'll probably look into more factions and stuff from there.
Yeah, it's just that espionage isn't enough to build a nation off of. It's very beneficial.
Yeah, no, because
it's a very beneficial aspect.
I was thinking they'd always have like firearms and weapons and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it would mostly be focused on like blackmailing people and kind of stealing stealing trade secrets and that kind of thing.
Yeah, they'd have all the spy kids from the different schools.
Yeah, it would make them good. It would also make it for a good kind of jack of all trades nation in a way, because they could kind of steal the best from the others.
Which works out kind of well, because they may also be in a more resource limited nation in terms of like food and whatnot. So they have to kind of get that edge elsewhere to make up for it.
Yeah. Again, should I write this down? Or are you gonna...
You can do whatever you like. Basically, I'm good at keeping it all in my head for basically whenever I kind of need to use it. Because basically the document you have here, you see in front of me here, it's basically how the world-building structure works is I'm not like doing everything for every nation right now. It's more sort of like loose idea brainstorming just to come up with the basic identity for them individually, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into each of these one by one, and then more so describe the how it all works from there. So I'm thinking of starting maybe with the French or the Brits. What do you think?
Can you put the stream back to the... Because I think it's just honestly slow updating, because now I'm looking at Maldoniya TTRPG system. But can you go back to all the list of nations? I just like...
I already am back on the list of nations.
Oh my fucking god. Alright, well it finally updated to what we were looking for a while ago.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go, I just had to reload. Yeah, I think French would be a good place to start, yeah. Either the ones... I would say Spaniards could be an interesting one to start with as well.
They're going to be very faith-based, though, and I think I want to start with a less faith-based system or nation, just so I don't have to worry about rules and shit just yet for the first one at least.
Now, one question: is this is the high fantasy one? So, is it like D&D where the gods are confirmed, like real?
I'll kind of get to that more when we get to gods, but basically there might be different utilizations of how deities essentially work in between the different cultures of wherever, whenever. But what I'm thinking is some may be like physical corporeal entities, some of them may be more like ideas or concepts, but it's really going to be more dependent on the culture itself. So we'll get to those when we get to them, because it's not going to be the same in between any two face systems, I would say.
So I get that some of them are more physical entities and some are more like an idea, but there's the question of, is it, well, first, is it going to be like I would assume, is there holy magic in this world, like clerics?
There probably will be something like that at some stage.
Okay, because then it becomes the question of, is that derived from an actual existing divine force, or is that strength of faith that causes
I would
divine
say,
manifestations?
Again, that'll be dependent between the systems. It could be both in between different ones. So we're not going to be any kind of one centralized kind of thing in between them.
Okay. One thing I find... yeah, you don't play Elden Ring, right?
No.
The lore is kind of a mess for those games, but they do have one idea I really like, is the way they have these outer gods, which are almost Lovecraftian, but they're like forces of nature or ideas. Yeah, it's just done very well.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that is from Old Man Game of Thrones. I think he contributed some of the world building and shit in that, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that was his like he had a very specific. He didn't do all the lore. Like I remember, I don't forget exactly what it was, but he had a very specific job. I think what he did is he basically did world building for like a functioning world.
Hmm.
And then Miyazaki, after he got like George R. R. Martin's nice world, what he did is he um, did the thing where he kind of like obfuscated it, made it super vague, and then also added like war and just so once he got like these civilizations and stuff from George R. R. Martin, he basically then set Elden Ring, I think, like 500 years in the future after they had all kind of collapsed and like broken down.
Hmm. No, that's that really is an interesting way to do it, because I've kind of thought before about like how I want the timeline of this world to work as well, but I'm not really going to worry about timeline right now. The only thing I want to worry about is putting things into play how I want them to be when a player enters the world themselves.
Okay. Would you like to see some of the more interesting stuff from the playtest I did?
What do you have in mind?
Specifically, I was going to stream the magic system. Okay. Because you might be able to draw inspiration for some of the stuff. It sounds vaguely similar in the way that you could have fire magic and you can work it in the ways that you can work fire magic within the system, but not outside of it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, give us a look, I guess.
You cut out.
Yeah, no, feel free to give us a look.
Okay. I think the best way to do this is I'm just gonna screen share for you.
Okay.
On Discord.
Yeah, no, I assumed.
Yeah.
Just bringing it up.
Oh, wait. This app does not have permission to... How do you fucking give it permission to screen share? It's because I recently downloaded the Discord app. So the site has permission, but the app does not.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you mean. I've never had any
Okay, let me just click
personally.
It might be MacBook stuff.
Yeah, I don't use Mac.
Yeah,
I mean, you can just.
I wish I didn't.
You can just speak out loud. If that's any easier.
Okay, sure. So basically, the way it works, I'm just scrolling. It takes a while. Oh my god! So you know how I said it was like hundreds of pages?
Yep.
I was like, yeah, it's actually like that's probably an exaggeration. It's currently at 131, and it keeps loading more.
Oh, that's good.
But we're not here for that. Just bear with me, I'm sorry. $159 total, okay. Why are you at the bottom of the document? Okay. Okay, so it's actually not as, I mean, not as long or complicated as I thought, because it's only at the very end, and there's like only 10 pages left. And I'm just going to skim it, and most of it is redundant. And so basically the way it works, can you hear me fine?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the way it works is there's runes,
Yes.
which are types of magic, basically.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and they're classified into mystical, arcane, and occult, I believe. I think that's all. Oh no, there's also divine and yeah, divine.
Mm-hmm.
So mystical would be what you were talking about with elements. Mystical is basically all the elements. So going at a common example, each rune has its classification, and then it has examples of how it could be used. So if I find the fire one, spells that bring forth fire and flame, the fire rune is one of the most destructive forms, able to incinerate everything, be it a focused flame or a massive conflagration. The fire rune can allow you to, for example, cauterize wounds from being infected, create small ignitions, and create small sources of fire for light and food. Absorb the flow of heat from sources like fire, lava, or body heat to create sources of heat like fire. Sense the body heat of sense the body heat of creatures and objects near you. Regulate your own body heat or the heat of objects around you. To help cook food, hold hot objects without burning yourself, and travel through hot environments like deserts.
Yeah, no, that sounds cool.
So it's an example of ways you can use it, but then within the system, if you were to actually use it in combat, the way it works is you choose a rune, and each rune has a damage type. So for fire, it's obviously fire. For earth, it would be strike. And then each rune has associated augments. So this is where it gets a little complicated, but the rune has a bunch of example uses, and you could make more. It's not limited to those, but in combat, you have your spellcasting focus. So be it like a staff or a tome or a wand, and they all have like different ranges or damage die. But basically, you apply the rune to that range and damage die of your focus, and then each rune has a couple augments you can put on, and then there's also augments that you can put on any of them. So for fire, there's burn, burst, and persist. So the burn one basically lights things on fire and gives them a damage over time. The burst would be like if you're doing like a fiery forceful explosion, where if you do burst and you do an AoE, it pushes everything in the AoE to the edges of the AoE. Like if you did a cone, it would push everything to the end of the cone.
No, that's cool.
And then persist creates an area on the ground. So if you were to do, say, a 30 by 30 foot sphere as your AoE, and you do persist, then
it will kind of stay there.
Then that 30 foot sphere, the ground in that sphere lights on fire. And it doesn't really say like what that does. It's up to the DM, but it would be probably based on the effects of the spell, and then based on a bit of fire damage based on how powerful it is. So you can choose to put in more or less mana into spells. And then there's a bunch of universal. Each rune has around like 3 to 5. Usually 3, but some of them have more augments that you can apply. So that was the fire one, but then there's the universal ones. So there's delay, which is the spell is cast at the start of your next turn, and the mana cost is halved. There's echo, which costs a bunch, but then at your next turn you can cast it again without paying its cost, and it's weakened. Empower just makes it do more damage, so it just adds 2 more damage die. So if your arcane staff does 1d6, then it becomes 3d6. And then there's sustain, which gives you concentration on it, but the concentration in the system is really buggy and doesn't really work. It kind of needs work, if I'm being honest, because you still have to pay mana each turn, And as much as he tried to explain it to me, it's just more efficient to just recast the spell every turn.
Okay.
And then you can choose, like, it costs 1 mana to target yourself, 0 to target yourself, 2 to target another creature, and then if you do an area, it depends on like a cube. 1x1 cube costs 1, 2x2 is 2, 3x3 is 3, etc. Line. So there's some that choose the area, and then there's the universal ones like pump the damage or make you able to concentrate on it, switch targets, kind of have it recast. And then each of the runes has augments that kind of add flavor and damage types. So the mystical ones are all the elements. The divine ones are like holy, light. There's one other, order. So order would be like you ever played Magic the Gathering?
I know of it, but I've never really played it.
Do you know like the Azorius in it? Like law magic? It's basically law magic. So like truth-telling fields, you could like kind of bind people with like arcane script. That's order. So those are the divine ones. Then there's the occult ones, which are like death, blood, edgy shit like that. Shadow. And then the arcane ones are like non-elements. There's knowledge, space, dream. And yeah, that's pretty much it. There's 22, but you get the idea. I don't want to go through all of them.
I mean, it's definitely an interesting system, and I like the augmentation aspect. Personally, the style I'm going to be going for is going to be a little different. Because basically, again, I think for like the less rules you have, the easier
the better, for sure,
to understand. And one of the real big things I want to do with this worldview and this system is to just make it easy for someone to just sit down and play without having to think or do anything other than use their own imagination.
Yeah, and I would hope you're doing something different, because I do genuinely think you can do better. And I also think, obviously, don't copy someone else, but I kind of just brought it up because I thought if it's vaguely similar, there might just be like one small aspect of it that might create a bolt of blue, a little bit of inspiration that you might be able to add a small something to your system from it, like cherry pick something. That's all.
Yeah, no, I do get it, and I appreciate it, but I think the big thing that I would highlight more than anything is I don't know if I really want to have resource consumption be a thing, like limited spell slots a day or whatever, because sure, in theory, you might think it isn't all that well balanced, but when you really think about it, when you go into like encounters or dungeons or whatever, things are generally like leveled or paced in such a way for none of that to really ever be much of an issue anyway. Because basically, since how I'm intending the power to be used, or how magic and spells and stuff will be used, it's not really a min-max thing. It's more of a constant force that you can use in whatever way you really imagine. So with that said, to that extent, you can pretty much just do whatever you like without really having any major fluctuations in power. So like the same amount of damage you would deal to a single target with your power would end up being the same damage spread out if you were to use the same power AoE.
I think what you were talking about, aura, for the marshals really allows that to work well. Because
Like, bruh,
if
when you think about
the casters and the marshals can constantly use feats, and it's not like casters really run out of spell slots in D&D anyway, it kind of just allows them to both shine consistently, which I like.
for sure, because the big thing to me in particular is just like, again with marshals, like how do they not even have like a single ability to just like spin around in a circle with a big sword and just hit everything around them? Like, why is that not allowed?
It's really dumb.
Yeah, like there's so many basic, cool, convenient, like good, positive things you can really do if you aren't limited by such meaningless restrictions, in all honesty.
Can you tell me what you were thinking for, you were saying you're not going to have really classes. Can you tell me how you were thinking that the kind of archetypes would work?
Basically, how it will work is when you level up, you don't select a class and then obtain abilities as you level up. What's going to happen is you basically go on an adventure, and throughout the adventure you gain access to your powers, essentially. And then with those powers, obtaining them is what makes you level up, rather than getting them as you level. So it's, yeah, so if you're a druid, you don't just like level up and magically gain these abilities. You go out and explore and gain these abilities on your own, and then the abilities you gain kind of becomes the class you are.
So you can essentially, you could essentially also grab some druid abilities, some martial abilities, some caster abilities.
Well, I haven't thought about it that much in depth as of yet, but that is something to be considered in the future, because I know that would potentially be something cool and fun for everyone to do. But basically, it's going to be like a cap of 9 levels. But the thing is, like, if you allow someone to multi-class 9 times, it becomes a bit overcomplicated. So I think if I were to allow some kind of multi-classing like that, it might be limited to 3 levels, if that makes sense.
Yep, I got it.
But yeah, so you can be a knight who uses aura, who also has a magic tech suit who can use magic or something. So I think, yeah, like the goal would be to have the ability to multi-class 3 times and have like a synergy between those classes.
Yeah. I'm saying if there's not levels, you need a way. Basically, are you going to have, instead of classes, like set abilities, or is it decided by the DM, like during the session? Like,
it'll basically be up
are you
to
choosing from those abilities, or is it just something that you kind of homebrew as you go that makes sense?
It'll kind of be up to the players more than anything. So basically, what's going to happen is you go on this adventure, and during this adventure, depending on the area you're in, you'll have a range of different abilities that you can gain access to, depending on how you kind of want to specialize, if that kind of makes sense. So for example, if you were in the magic school and you were playing like more of a slice of life role-playing adventure where you just literally study through school throughout the 7 years and graduate, what would happen is, of the 4 or 5 different magic schools there are, you can choose classes for 3 of the different types of magic. So basically you'll end up being a multi-class of 3 different magic classes.
Okay.
Or up to 3 different magic classes, depending on the classes you take, if that makes sense.
I got it.
So you kind of get to choose from the options that are given to you, and the options that are available are preset to a certain level. So you can choose to study swordsmanship and like eventually follow down the path to obtain aura or something. But I think the big thing with that system as well is it's possible to balance things in such a way to have like power spikes at like the 4th level or the 6th level or something. So if you are wanting to do that multi-class, sure, you get access to different abilities and powers that make you more versatile, but you also miss the major power spikes at certain key levels depending on how you're like investing your class usage, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Although if it only goes to 9, I would say 5 and 6 feels a little late for a major power spike.
Well,
that's nitpicky, but
I mean there will be like various points. So I'd say maybe like every 3rd level, let's say like level 3, level 6, level 9 might, in theory, could be the really major ones. But the examples I gave before were just for how like multi-class balancing will work. Because if you have 3 classes and the max level is 9, you could get each of them up to a maximum level of 3. So while you would hit all major levels of each kind of every like 1st tier power spike of the 3 classes, if you were to say have a level 4, a level 3, and a level 2, by investing in that 4th level, sure, you'd get better at one thing, but you would miss the major power spike on the other. Whereas alternatively, if you wanted to hit that 2nd tier power spike, you would have to have level 6 in a class, which means you would have to have level 3 in another, which means you don't get to have that 3rd power spike were you to try to get a 3rd class just because you wouldn't have enough levels available, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I like it. I know we're kind of starting with the world building, but I think having a general idea of this is somewhat important as well, for me at least, to start thinking about it.
Like, I'm more than happy to discuss the finer details of the practical application of the in-game system too, while we do this whole process, because it's not really possible to do one without the other. Just like the actual like numbers and mechanics of like how many dice you roll for what system, for what purpose and when, a lot of that stuff's more so intended to be done behind the scenes, because at the end of the day, that's mostly just like balancing and playtesting to get things right, and it's really no good into a lot of number crunching. So while it's all well and good like discussing the system in theory, it's just not like something we'd want to fine tune on a stream.
Yeah, no, that's definitely. But you do need to have a general system established before you can playtest. If you know what I mean.
No, for sure. Like that's definitely the case. But
like playtesting is going to obviously produce more results, but you can't you can't start by playtesting.
Yeah, I mean, playtesting is going to be a long way off. Let's just say that much.
Yeah.
Ideally, sooner would be better. And honestly, since we are starting with the French, I think a good thing to do could actually be to begin with how we with a magic school adventure based on the previous examples, because the magic system is probably like one of the better fleshed out systems I kind of have in mind, and it's easier to start small than to start large. So while the magic school itself will be pretty huge, it's on a lesser scale than an entire kingdom. And since this is kind of standalone, separate from everything else, it makes it a lot easier to really get into. And magic schools are fun and cool, and everyone loves them, so why would we not do something with them, you know?
I think it's probably one of the most universally loved fiction tropes. Although I do like the idea of it not being just school, kind of like Harry Potter. It's a magic school, but they still got like the main overarching plot, and like people are trying to infiltrate the school and that kind of thing.
Probably be,
but again, finer details.
There'll probably be something like that for sure at some point. But the thing is, we're not making this story right now. We're doing the world building right now. So we are creating this location in order for a story to be able to take place there. What that story is, we don't have to worry about until a later time, which is, again, just why it's so good to be able to do this now in this kind of way. So I've already briefly mentioned that I intend for the magic schools themselves, the magic systems rather, to be based on the schools of physics, essentially. And that there's also going to be 7 levels of schooling, maybe theoretically. So the thing with that is basically how the theoretical structure would work is 1 year of schooling would be 1 level per. But the other issue with that is it would essentially make people too powerful by the time they graduate, theoretically, in terms of the worldview. Because basically...
yeah, because people graduating school would be level 7, which seems a little nuts if it only goes up to 9.
Correct, because the big thing is, like, how I'm intending it to be is, like, 9 is like the level of myths, 7 is the level of legend, 5 is the level of heroes, 3 is the level of champions. So maybe it'd make more sense to have...
Do you think someone after 7 years, after a full magic education, could be champion level?
I would say so. I think that's a reasonable expectation. I think that's like a reasonable level for like someone to enter the military at like an officer level and perform or achieve feats based on the unique skills that they've kind of gotten available to them as a result of education. So yeah, I think 3 levels is good.
I think if level 3 is also going to be a major power spike, and assuming that education gets much harder, I would say you could realistically say that the first 2 years give you 1 level, the next 2 years give you a 2nd level, and the next 3 give you the 3rd.
Well, that's the thing. So basically, I kind of mentioned before how you go on a adventure to obtain your skills to get your level. So what that means essentially is you technically start at level 0 as well. So just keep that in mind. But I think rather than starting as like a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old in school, I think starting at a slightly younger, more mature age may be a more realistic application as well. So, for instance, let's say, give me 1 second here. But yeah, so I'm thinking like, if we do it that way, you could go to school starting as a 15-year-old, and then you do school from 15, 16, 17, and when you graduate, you're basically turning an adult at 18, which is a universal consideration, and that's when you kind of go out into the world.
Yeah.
And I think being level free for a specialized institutions education system as a young adult is a very reasonable level, and that's enough to give you like a level of prestige over the common rabble, which is fitting for your education.
Yeah, and I would assume that most people in a high fantasy setting are not educated.
Correct.
So you would be the exception. So if you start at level 0, and after 2 years of schooling you're 1, and after 4 you're 2, and after 7 years then you're 3, and then if you wanted to take a campaign like that further, then you could even go back to school as a professor.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I think I do like the 3-year system a bit more now, just in terms of like gameplay purposes, because I think people would enjoy playing more as a 15-year-old than a 12-year-old, if that makes sense. Because like, like a 12-year-old, you want to play as a kid, not as a young elite being groomed into a high-functioning member of society.
Yeah, honestly, even 15. Well, 15's young, but not too young. 15's good, I think.
It's I think 15 is like the level where you like first become a self-aware person contributing to society, if that makes sense.
I disagree. I think most people don't ever become self-aware.
I mean, that's a fair fucking argument. I'm not gonna disagree with that.
Anyway, misanthropy aside.
Okay, let me just bring up what are the schools or applications of physics?
It's engineering.
Oh, give me a sec, I got pinged by someone. Come golf with your friends? I would, but I'm streaming right now, my guy.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, I always say ooh. I was,
Yeah, I have noticed. Why? Is there a specific reason? Just why not, I guess?
No.
I mean...
I just like saying ooh. Okay, so...
Yeah, I always picture Chloe as the cringe one, but... You're up there.
See, I say and do cringe things, but since I'm confident and charismatic, hot and intelligent and wise, it doesn't come off as cringe when I do it.
And humble?
Yes, you forgot that one.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Schools of Magic. Now, I like the idea of this being a water school, so it's going to be both magic and magic engineering classes. And purpose of school to groom young elites of tomorrow's
Sorry, to what?
To excel. Yeah, I mean I could word that better, but I'm gonna leave it be for now. So we are going to have thermodynamics, kinematics, electromagnetism, let me just study this properly. What are the laws of physics. I think that's the one I wanted, because there's like... Yeah, so there's motion, gravitation, thermodynamics. Quantum mechanics. These are the ones I wanted. Yeah. Mass energy. Might just take a quick peek at some of the notes I did previously in my prototype stages. I forgot which one I need, but you guys might see a sneak peek of some of the things I had in mind for this.
I highly doubt I will, considering how behind my Twitch is.
Yeah, I forgot you're lagging a bit. Okay, it looks like I've kind of got everything I need. Okay, so we got thermodynamics, which is hot and cold, motion, magnetics, electricity, we'll go with that. Gradient space-time is self-explanatory. Mass and energy. Cool, so we'll treat it as five.
Did you say mass and energy is separate from gravity and space-time?
I'm not sure whether to treat them as such, but that's how I've got it listed for now. Should I be putting them together?
You can't... Well... You can't really separate mass and gravity.
That is true.
Like, I can't think how they would work. Like, I can't think of how a magic centered around mass would work any differently from a magic centered around gravity.
Because I think...
Not very different, at least. I think there's too much overlap.
One of them I intend on more so doing is, like, energy, and the other more so gravity. So let's do... One is energy, and one is gravity's gravity. And then a question mark space after it, because I don't really want to do anything that really fucks with time, because that breaks everything. And
yes, I agree.
So we're gonna leave that well enough alone. Outside of that, I'm even wondering if I kind of want to lay off of space as well. Mostly because with space, it's less like reality breaking than time, but I think just like being able to like teleport freely can cause like a lot of issues as well. Okay.
I would assume it would be the magic kind of functions separately from the class, right?
Well, the class is basically whatever magic you have, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like I was thinking, could you, within the class, provide enough limitations to make space balanced, or no?
Well, basically how I intend on doing it is just giving people the power of that thing. So if they have the power of space, it means they have the power, literally, of space. So how it would be balanced is the level basically indicates how much space you can exert influence over at any one given time. But I think it's easier to just lay off of it entirely, because otherwise there could be a lot of overlap with the school of kinematics as well, and that's more of motion and movement rather than space
Okay,
itself.
yeah, if you have that one, then you could lay off it.
And I think that's a more interesting and a more fun and a more creative utilization of practical principles in comparison. Because, like, you can still use kinematics as a way to help create technologies or methods of transportation which people can benefit from. But with that said, the other really, like, big thing is that, yeah, it's just not as breaking as instantaneous transportation of matter anywhere, because again, if you went too much into space, there'd be like cross-pathing with matter and all that other shit too. But I don't really want to get into the the bulk of all that nerdy ass shit. No, I think that's fine, because basically how this will work is it'll give the students of magic the option to study between these 5 separate schools or classes of magic over the 3 years of their studies. So they can specialize completely in one and essentially become a master of those arts. And they'll get like the 3rd level power spike on graduation, or you can do a 2-in-1 or a 1-1-1. And
yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's a good kind of way to do it. And then so we'll have a magic and practical magic and magic engineering application maybe. So I'm thinking rather than separating magic and magic engineering into 2 different classes, it's more like the same application of the same learning. So if you study gravity, you'll like learn ways both to use basically spells that cause gravity and inscribe engineered circles for objects to influence gravity in whatever way too.
Yeah. I have kind of related, because we're talking about classes. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have one class that's magic, and that applies to both the practical application and magic circles and constructions, right?
Probably, yeah.
When you say knight, is that martial? Like, knight, I think of, the equivalent would be like fighter. Is there a place for more like roguey kind of stuff?
For sure. Basically, I want to create a way for kind of anyone to be able to live out or play as the archetype that they want to play as. So, rogues and shit may not have any kind of official institutions with like nationally recognized education, which they go through. Yeah, there'll still be ways for them to like get through. Like they might be street kids who are just forced out into the world on their own and kind of had to pick up skills by themselves for the sake of survival or something.
Yeah, okay. That's good. I like that. I was just asking because since I was thinking, I just thought like, hey, what would... I mean, it's hard to say. I was thinking, like, for playtests or when we're doing the system, what would I personally like to try the most first? And I mean, it's very easy to just say, oh, the magic, because, you know, the system is so different that I think it is just exciting and I would want to try it out. But I was also thinking it would be really fun to see, like, if we are doing, like, a nation that has specializes in spying, a kind of, like, non-combat orientated, rogue-y kind of espionage expert could be really fun too.
Yeah, because I mean, keep in mind, like, even though the magic schooling itself will start at maybe like 15 years of age, and you got like a year, like a level per year, it doesn't mean you can't have had levels before entering the school. Like, you could be a first level spy who has infiltrated, for example. Yeah, so there would be unofficial government organizations out there, and like some of the spy nations who definitely like bring up kids and send them off for that purpose. And that will be like a lot of the story of those institutes as well. But one of the other things I kind of like the idea of is like everyone loves a good fucking tournament. So there'll be like
tournament arcs are so underrated.
They'll be like, yeah, oh dude, the thing I hate most about tournament arcs is when they fucking...
Like, everyone complains about them. I love tournament arcs.
The thing I hate about tournaments is when they interrupt the tournaments with the main plot. Like, I would rather just enjoy the tournament for what it is.
Yeah, no, me too.
Like, oh no, the terrorists are attacking, they're destroying the fucking festival. Don't let them, I want to see who wins this fucking tournament, you know? But,
yeah,
I imagine, like, with the cultures between nations, like, there would be a somewhat friendly yet antagonistic rivalry between the night school and the magic school, for instance, so maybe they kind of compete against each other. Because there's not really any purpose to have a different magic school for the magic school to fight against, because they can just have an internal competitions for magic on magic as well, you know?
I mean,
it's the same magic.
There's reasons from a world building point of view that nations would want their own magic school.
Yes, but other nations don't have their own magic schools because it's like a niche technology, which is why everyone else is trying to get in there, you know?
Yeah.
But, I mean, there could be some other kind of school somewhere, like out the east. Maybe there's a kind of cultivation academy, or like a dojo or something. Maybe there's like an expeditionary arc where you have like an intercontinental tournament with them, or whatever other bullshit you want. But yeah, no, I think that is pretty cool.
Now that we're talking about magic schools, I'm just thinking about how, like, cool Hogwarts is, even, like, with all the secret passages and hidden rooms and, like, the mystique.
Yeah, I don't know if I would, like, have that for the sake of this school, because this one itself is a more national institution for, like, militant purposes and, like, technological purposes more than anything, but I would love, like, having some kind of mysterious place like that out there somewhere else.
Yeah, you don't want like, oh, there's a fucking devil's snare plan ready to like strangle the students who go down the wrong passageway.
For sure, for sure. Anyway, give
Although I
me...
would say there'd probably be secret societies.
Yeah. Give me 2 minutes. I'm just gonna get myself a drink of water, but feel free to keep speaking while I'm walking around because my headset's digital.
Oh, I get you.
Wireless,
Um,
rather.
Yeah. I might not be able to stay for too much longer because it is 1:44.
No, that's fine. I knew it was late for you, but I wasn't sure how late. Well, before you do go in that case, is there anything else you'd kind of like to go over?
I didn't mean like right now. Just giving you a heads up.
Okay,
My
that's
sleep
fine.
schedule is fucked. It's not like I was. Unless you're done with the stream because we have been chatting for a while.
No, I'd say I'm good to go for another hour or two.
Okay, I am not good to go for that. That much longer. But I'm good to go for a little while longer for sure. Because I started yawning, and yeah, I've been low energy recently. I want to fix that.
Yeah, no, I get you for sure. Sleep is definitely the solution in that case. But yeah, I mean, let's talk about the magic skill a bit more. Like, what would you like to see or do as a player, character, playing as like a youth in a magic school, apart from like tournaments and classes?
I mean, there should be in any good school clubs. And I think the viability of having something like that be interesting is as much dependent on the actual world building of the school itself as it is on how versatile the magic system is. Because if you have a fleshed out magic system with a bunch of different types, then you could have a school club for, say, a more niche area of kinematics.
For sure, because
Or a school club for a niche area of like some other form of magic, or a niche club for this, or a more broad club.
Well, basically, running with those thoughts, what I kind of have in mind is more so of a like a scientific club, like more of a magic engineering club, and basically they have an idea for invention, and it's their goal to make this invention through magic become a reality.
I like that, yeah. But I'm thinking, not the more the better. Quality over quantity for sure in a campaign, but one thing, I mean, this might be me being a little edgy, but I do like more. Is there any room in the system for like more occult style of magics, like rituals?
Yes. Not within this specific school of magic, but there'll be like other like denotations and systems of magic elsewhere, which will be more to that effect. Like it might be voodoo or something to the south.
Yeah, but that wouldn't work based off physics. So there's different forms of magic, right?
Okay. So you're thinking more like maybe clubs that practice the application of their magic system using other magic systems.
Well, how would voodoo work out in your system if it is only physics?
Well, voodoo wouldn't be part of that system if it makes sense. So basically, how this specific physics system works is basically through the application of magic circles. So there might be some kind of chant, some kind of regent, some kind of symbols, so like the three familiar D&D components you're familiar with Regent, Somatic, and Vocal, whatever.
Yeah.
And basically they inscribe the magic circle, they speak the command, and if they have the Regent, let's say the magic happens. So in terms of like voodoo being the unique system it is, like with voodoo dolls or whatever, I'm not really sure if there would be a way to make it work with that particular system. Not that like voodoo wouldn't exist, it wouldn't be done with magic circles, if that makes sense.
Yeah, but I'm thinking of like there could be room in this system for, let's say, more ritualistic applications of the same principle. I guess you could say like dark magic. Like, for example, you could have. There was one that you said that was the control over temperature, right? I'm not saying like human sacrifice, but you could have like weirder rituals that use like people's body heat, for example.
So maybe they're
Maybe
trying
in
to find a
unethical
way
ways.
to activate magic outside of this magic circle system.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd say there'd definitely be some kind of club that would like, a cult club, as you say, that would enjoy trying to break that mystery or find that solution, if one even exists.
Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be possible. Like, whether or not it's possible in the system doesn't even matter. The club could just be trying it, and maybe there's a 0% chance that they succeed.
Yeah, I mean,
but it still could be interesting to have a club that's trying.
I mean, that's how real life works. Like, people have a theory, and they try their theory to see if it works. That's the point of like science and scientific research.
Yeah.
So
I think if you have like a club like that, I assume it would not probably be sanctioned by the school either, which could make things interesting. Yeah, what else? So how much mystique were you thinking for this? Like, you were saying like not like crazy secret passages like Hogwarts, but what were you thinking along the lines of?
Well, I haven't overly thought much further about it, to be honest, because I haven't I know I've always wanted to have like a magic school, but I've never really thought much more in depth of like how or why I want it, which is why we're having this discussion now.
So there's some flexibility. I'm sorry, but can you re-explain the difference between practical magic and magic circles?
Well, basically,
or are they the same thing?
They're essentially the same thing. It's like the same system of magic, it's just utilized differently. So either A, you inscribe a magic circle on an object, and the magic circle remains engraved on the object, but it doesn't activate until the command is uttered. Whereas if you draw a magic circle in the air, for instance, you can speak the command word as you're drawing it, and it'll activate instantaneously. So it's basically the difference between instantaneous and delayed activation in terms of application. And
so all magic taught at the school would be magic. So
it's all magic. It's just two different applications of magic.
But it's all magic circles. One's just instantaneous and one isn't. Yes. So this school, the kind of magic that they teach, or is this the only magic? All the magic in this world uses magic circles.
I would say this specific system is the only one that uses magic circles.
So the game system or the school? Sorry.
Both. So just for reference, there'll be other similar systems, like I wouldn't necessarily call them magic. Magic's just what this system would be called in the in-game world, but basically there's going to be a runic system using like the old Norse runes or the old Greek alphabet, which is basically treated as the language of like dragons or giants, and what they do is they have the similar application of like writing the letter down and speaking the command word, and you can either do it in the air or on an object, similar to the magic system, but they produce different kinds of effects in comparison to magic. Like, magic is a lot more omnipotent in how it's utilized per school, because with each of its individual skills, you can do so much more with any of those individual things in comparison to like any of the other systems. Like with the runic system for the dragons or the giants, it's basically the ability to strengthen something, if that makes sense. So it just makes something harder or stronger or more durable, in comparison to being able to influence temperature itself.
I would assume if it's the language of the gods, say you want to light something on fire, you could write in that language like X object is on fire, and it would happen. Is that the general idea?
Basically, if there's a runic symbol for fire, you would say inscribe it on a sword, for instance, and if you say the command word while wielding the sword lights a flame. So
that's what you mean by strengthen. It's that you can inscribe it onto objects and give them effects.
Yes.
I see. Okay.
And
so when you say this school teaches magic circles, that's the magic system, and the circles can either be inscribed onto objects to create magical artifacts, or you can draw them in the air, basically just to cast spells normally.
Exactly.
And these circles give you power over areas of physics.
Correct. So, for instance, if you're a first level thermodynamics user, you'll be able to control temperature up to a certain level within a limited capacity. So we'll say maybe you can make something 100 degrees hotter or 10 degrees colder or something like that. And the higher level you get, the more variance you have over those temperature thresholds. So rather than being able to chill something or heat something, you can set something on fire or freeze something instead.
Okay. And this is a lot of questions, but I think this is very important for
That's fine.
Even just theory crafting how the school works. The other systems, for example, the rune one, would it also be thermodynamics and physics, but applied in a different way, or would it be completely different? It's its own system. Runes are just its own thing, or?
Yes, they are their own thing. So basically, I've already got.
So you wouldn't be a thermodynamics user. So you said, okay, so you're a first level thermodynamics user.
You wouldn't be a thermodynamics user, no.
Yeah. So first level thermodynamics user, you can raise the temperature by this, or this, but you could be instead a first level runes user.
Yes. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to bring up.
And do runes use magic circles? That's my last question.
The runes use runes, not magic circles. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It's not that it doesn't make sense, it's just that I need to know the details.
Yeah. So what I'm doing now is I'm bringing up the runic system here. So I've got the Norse runes in front of me. So the Norse runes are a series of 24 symbols, which will basically be like inscribed on objects similar to magic circles. So it's a similar system to magic, but they have different applications and purposes. So basically, the magic circle, you draw a magic circle and you influence whether you want it to be hot or cold or what kind of effect you want it to manifest according to your will as you describe it, and there'll be maybe different shapes or different sizes of magic circles depending on what you want to do or how you want to use it. The runes, however, are more fixed, so you have to draw the runes exactly as they are, in the exact shape they are, and you can either draw them right way up or upside down. And basically, it'll be a Bane/Boon system. So the Boon system is the right way up, how the runes intended to be read, which generally carries with it a beneficial effect, such as to strengthen. It'll make something stronger or harder or more durable. Whereas if you did it upside down, the rune would be a Bane rune, not a Boon rune. So it would still have the effect of strengthening, but it would be flipped upside down. So rather than strengthening something, you weaken something instead.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
And that's very self-explanatory too, which is good.
Yes.
So when you were saying there's room...
Yes.
Sorry, go on. It's hard on Discord. Not trying to be rude.
No, that's fine. So how the rune system works is it'll be different to the schools of magic, because the schools of magic will like vary in fluctuations of power depending on how well versed you are in them. Whereas the effects of the runes will always be the same, but the difference with the leveling system is the higher level you become as a runic user. It basically means even though the power of the runes remains the same, you can either use more runes at once, influence more things at once, like strengthen more things at once or weaken more things at once, or you can do chains of runes. So rather than inscribing a single rune on an object to strengthen it, you can inscribe 2 runes, which allows it to strengthen it and put it on fire. So not only would the blade strengthen, but the flames would strengthen as well.
Oh, I was just about to ask, how is that different from doing more than one runes? But it makes it so that the runes affect each other.
Yes.
I see, okay.
But, yeah, so you'll basically, like, theoretically have access to the entire runic alphabet off the bat, for example, but there will be a limit of how much you can achieve with them. And,
okay.
Or, like, how many you can string at once. And,
yeah, that might just be my first class.
Yeah. And it's even worth noting, like, it might not even be... I haven't fully decided yet, but you might not even be able to get to level 6 or level 9 in a single class. Maybe level 3 will be the maximum of a class, because, like, you've got to get to the top of it somehow, because, like, the thing is, with the runic system, if you get access to, like, an additional rune in a chain each time you use it, eventually you're just going to be writing 9 runes in a single sequence, and that's just going to cause so many effects that it will be messy and redundant, and things will probably, like, cancel each other out. So I think flipping is like
or if they actually strengthen each other, like you said, in chains, then it will become ridiculously overpowered, because then it just increases exponentially if they're multiplying each other.
Yeah, well, that would only be if you use the rune specifically to strengthen, because there'll be one rune that has the effect of strengthening. So if you don't use the rune of strengthening, then you can have, like, a series of 6 other runes, and if the strengthening rune is the other effects won't be strengthened, they'll just be activated simultaneously.
Yeah,
so
I mean...
synergistic depending on how you use it.
You don't need... I don't think you would need to have it be consistent between... There's no reason... There's no rule that says you have to have it consistent. Like, you don't have to have each class goes up to level 3. Like, you could maybe have, oh, this class goes up to level 6, this class goes up to level 3, this class goes up to level 9.
Yes,
I don't think there's anything wrong with that, per chance.
Yeah, so it might depend on the class you're doing, for instance. Because, for example, we could just have, like, a wizard be the class for a magic user, and rather than, like, being a level 9 thermodynamics user, you're a level 9 wizard who is a level 3 user of these 3 different applications of magic.
Yeah.
But 3 and 9 are very nice numbers for this kind of system.
Yeah. So when you said, what was it? Yeah, when you said there might be room for... There's no occult in this school, it's because that school would teach the magic circles with the physics, but if there's a system like runes, there could be another system like voodoo or occult.
Correct.
That's separate.
They may not necessarily...
Now I understand what you meant by that.
Yes, so there may not necessarily be like a school for the occult, because that'll probably come from a more like generally seen as more of a primal or savage area with like more word of mouth taught magics than like proper institutions and schooling and shit. But that doesn't mean like there's not the capacity to learn it out there somewhere.
Yeah. And I would think probably frowned upon in most areas. But with the understanding that there are these different systems, there could be, I think even more so, that a good idea would be a school club or group that is trying to kind of fuse what they're learning with another one.
Yes, I do think that would be interesting as well. Now, I'd like to imagine like a school club or something that might be trying to combine two of the different systems of magic to produce like a singular effect, similar to like maybe the runic system, how they like write a series of runes and it strengthens or combines the effects. They might be trying to achieve the same purpose by combining magic circles.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Well, sorry, I thought that's what I meant until you finished your sentence. Just by combining runic circles, not by combining runic circles with another system of magic.
Yes, but yeah, no, there's room for like plenty out there.
Yeah, but that's just that was just like literally one suggestion was clubs. What else for a school, for a magic school? I think there should probably also be like a sport, like sports or games that use magic.
No, I agree with that too, because there's a lot of fun games you could do with like kinematics, for example.
Like obviously inspired by Quidditch, but
yeah.
non-Quidditch. Yeah, like
a
sport. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I got my idea from, but obviously something that is not similar to that at all, because I think this system gives us even more potential for different sports. There could be more than one.
For sure. Well, at the moment...
And like school teams.
Yeah, like school houses.
Yeah, I mean...
I imagine that'd be super...
Would houses be divided into... I mean, houses could be divided into just fields of study, but it could be just determined in another way as well.
Well, yes and no, because I think the theory is, would you have to do a specialized curriculum, or would you be allowed the option to study 3 different schools of magic? I think that's really the question at play here.
Yeah, okay, so... So it could, although...
Basically, the way I see it is the school itself is a national institution, and they want to get the most value from their students for the sake of the nation, which means it would be more practical from the school's point of view to have specialists in each category at the highest level, rather than all-rounders who know a little bit of each. So I think they'd probably only allow people to focus on any one particular group of study.
I think you don't need as many of them, but I think all-rounders are also useful.
I'm not saying they're
to a nation
useful.
To be able to cross-reference things.
Yeah, I'm not saying they wouldn't be useful. I just think that the school would greater incentivize specialists.
In that case, then yeah, schoolhouses. I mean, schoolhouses brings up the question of is it a boarding school? I assume people stay over and sleep there if they're studying there.
Definitely going to be a boarding school.
So then schoolhouses are likely also, like what split up the dorms.
Yeah. So if there's 5 schools of magic, there'll be maybe like 5 magic towers, one for each school or something.
Although,
and you can have like
if we
a
do
floating magic tower for the gravity school, like a tower covered in like lightning rods and constantly electrified for the electromagnetism one or something.
yeah, I mean, what are the schools that you're thinking of? Schools of magic.
The 5 schools of physics, basically. So thermodynamics, kinematics, electromagnetism, gravity, and maybe energy.
Wait.
That's just like a rough spitball. I don't know if it's going to be finalized. Electromagnetism, kinematics, and thermodynamics are for sure going to be free, but I don't know how we're going to handle gravity and energy, essentially, or whether they might be combined into one or something.
Electrodynamics, thermodynamics, you said?
Or electromagnetism and thermodynamics.
Electromagnet. God, I'm a slow typer. Thermodynamics. And what was the last one?
Kinematics.
What?
Nematics. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it properly, but I don't care.
Like electromagnetism, thermodynamics, and what?
Kinematics. Kine.
Kinematics. Oh yeah, movement.
Yeah.
Oh, I just had an idea for one. What about, and this would likely be an avenue for more illusion style magic, but what about optics?
Okay, I briefly saw optics earlier, so can you describe what optics is for me?
So, optics was my least favorite part of physics in high school. Basically, what we studied was how light reflects at different angles, how eyes work, how vision works. So optics could have control over like light to kind of bend light, create invisibility, create illusions, influence what people see.
For sure. I'll
blinding.
I'll add that in. I never actually studied physics, so I don't really know what the schools or laws of physics are. So if you feel I have left any out, if you could go over those with me, that'd be appreciated, because I do want to ideally have one for each of them if I can.
To be honest, for my school at least, I wanted to leave for university as many options available as possible, which meant that I needed to take 2 out of the 3 to do any STEM thing. I needed to do 2 of the 3 sciences, being chem, bio, and physics.
Yeah.
And I did mostly chem and bio. Physics, I only took 2 grade 10, I believe, whereas chemistry I took to grade 11, and bio I took to grade 12. Before I went into grade 12, I realized I didn't actually want to go into STEM, so I dropped the chemistry and just stuck with bio because I enjoyed it. So physics is the one I know the least about. But if I think of anything, I'll let you know. Looking on Wikipedia, because my description was probably terrible. Optics is the branch of physics that studies the behavior and properties of light, including its interactions with matter and the construction of instruments that use or detect it. Optics usually describes the behavior of visible, ultraviolet, and infrared light. Light is a type of electromagnetic radiation, microwaves. So it's basically studying X-rays, microwaves, radio waves, and regular light, infrared light, how light reflects off of objects, how we perceive colors, how we perceive light.
No, I think that's a good one to have, because apart from those, I'm aware like other like physics-based things that also like quantum shit, nuclear shit, particle shit, and matter shit. But I'm not really sure how those would like apply.
Yeah, that seems. Yeah, I'm not smart enough, or not my area of expertise.
Yeah, I'm
That
also
seems
just
like a lot of effort to turn it into a system.
Yeah, I'm
Be
also just
relatively
want
accurate.
to get a list of the laws and basically have one school per law. So we have the conservation laws.
Oh, you mean? Okay, that's interesting. Let me look up the laws because I don't know them off the top of my head. There's a lot of laws. Wait, when I look it up, I see the 12 basic laws of physics. Is that what you're looking at, or are you looking at a different set of laws?
I mean, I'm just trying to get an idea of what ones there are because I honestly have no idea.
Um,
But yeah, no, I'll look at the 12.
I mean, the one that everyone knows is like, I don't know, matter cannot be, or energy cannot be created or destroyed, only transformed. Do you know about that one? I forget what it's called. But
Well, I'm not
which?
necessarily looking to like apply the laws as they are, more so like the schools of physics, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So, what school would you think that is related to?
I guess it would be energy, but okay, here we are, the branches of physics. I think this might be more what I was looking for.
The branches of physics. The branch. Oh, thermodynamics, classical physics, acoustics, astrophysics, electromagnetism, biophysics, quantum mechanics, optics, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so let me go over this a bit. So, alright, so we'll do kinematics slash motion slash force. So that's basically intended to be like movement and shit, thermodynamics, hot and cold. I like electromagnetism, magnetics, and electricity. So I'm cool with all of those. Optics is going to be like light and vision.
Why don't you combine optics and acoustics? And then you've got.
What is?
So optics is the study of
sound.
Of like, yeah, like vibrations. So sound.
Yeah. I mean, it might still have them separate, but it's good to just have the options.
Yeah. I was more just thinking from like an illusion perspective, being able to control light and sound kind of goes well together.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how powerful it could realistically be by themselves. Unless you are literally saying like, oh, because optics is the study of light rays, unless you're literally saying, oh yeah, you can create illusions, but you can also fry people's brains with like microwaves. That seems a little silly though. Because theoretically, optics isn't just the study, it's the study of light, but not just a visible light, also like light that can hurt people.
For sure. No, it sounds like it will have a few applications. I'm just reading something. Give me a sec, sorry. I know I mentioned earlier I don't really want to do crazy shit with space and time, but I might just note a couple of things down for now. But yeah, no, I think this is a good kind of basis. I'm not gonna worry about like things on the atomic or the subatomic level, that kind of bullshit. Just because it doesn't really fit the whole fantasy vibe, I reckon. So
no, it doesn't.
I think the ones here I am pretty much happy with. So I like the addition of like optics and acoustics. So let's do that. And I'm wondering if just like combining like gravity and energy into a single thing with mass and just keeping space and time out of it. That feels like it's going to be the best kind of.
What would energy be without mass? Like what you're saying? Combining energy and gravity into mass. What is energy?
I don't necessarily mean like putting them under the umbrella of mass. I'm just thinking of having them be in the same kind of tutelage, similar to how optics and acoustics would be.
Yeah, one thing, I mean, it depends on how much you give to optics, and like I was thinking like visible light, but if you wanted to, I was thinking more like less offensive applications, but both optics and acoustics could have very offensive applications. Like optics, again, X-rays, microwaves, and radio waves, that's like cancer rays basically, and acoustics could just be thunder damage pretty easily.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking light and sound in general. So like illusions and shit like you mentioned before, but also just like the speed of light, like the intensity of light can be like blinding, or I think like light can be like hot enough or intense enough or concentrated enough to like cause heat and burning and flames or whatever on its own maybe. And like with sound, it's more so like the vibrations as well. You can do some pretty crazy shit with vibrations, like causing a building to collapse into rubble.
Yeah, you could also make it tremor sense. You could give them the ability to give themselves like tremor sense.
Yeah, and similar to optics, that'd be like a blind sight maybe. You could do something with that.
Yes. Yep. Optics, I don't think would give you blind sight. Optics, I think, would be blinding people or making yourself invisible.
More so the acoustic aspects.
Yeah.
I know, like tremor sense, yes, but there's also like a blind sight, like you can just hear instead of seeing.
Yeah.
All right.
Acoustics could even be, because it is sound is just vibration, and that's the study of it is. You could also, it could be hear instead of see, but there's other ways you could flavor giving yourself that kind of sense with acoustics. It could be, what you're saying, you could collapse buildings with vibrations. You could also sense people with vibrations, kind of like the sandworms in Dune. You actually haven't, but sandworms that kind of burrow under the ground and sense things on the surface from the vibrations, or the way sound reflects back, like a bat echolocation.
No, for sure. I mean, I'm not really worried about like the applications or the purposes of them at this point, because I know like you can pretty much use them to do such a wide array of shit. It doesn't really matter. I'm also just like making sure I've got like a school for any kind of branch of physics I wanted to be covered in this setting, basically. But I think we accomplished that now.
Sorry, is my brain can be a little ADHD, focus on one thing in particular, way too detail orientated sometimes.
That's fine.
One thing I was looking at though, sorry, go on.
No, it's fine.
I was looking at other branches of physics. Back to what we're supposed to be looking at. Big picture. You could look at there's two. I honestly haven't looked into them, but when I'm just looking at like the titles of branches of physics on Google, there's chemical physics and biophysics, which could be a good way if you wanted more alchemy style stuff.
I'm gonna have like a separate system for alchemy and shit, so I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I think I'm happy with the schools of magic, so I don't think we have to do anything further with that. But the addition of optics and acoustics or whatever is pretty nice, because I don't really know if there'd be any other kind of system where I would have been able to introduce that kind of audio-visual illusionary magic. So that's pretty good there.
For sure, boss.
That aside,
okay.
Yes.
I know you did say you're done, but did you look at magnetism? Because that could be sick.
Electromagnetism.
Oh, yeah, okay, duh.
In any case, yeah, I'm thinking about what kind of classes we might want to have at the school. So we have, like Magic Circle class, learning how to make a magic circle, and then pronunciation class, maybe learning incantations to trigger effects or something. Regan class, learning what kind of Regans you might need if you need them for the sake of achieving.
Can I bully you for a second?
Why?
Say reagent.
No.
Okay.
In any case, I'm not fully sure whether I want to lean into pronunciations and like physical material consumption for the purposes of spells for this system. But I'm gonna keep it on the back burner just in case I feel like it, because I want to do something with like mana or a mana-based system somewhere, somehow. I haven't fully thought about how I would like to achieve that as of yet, because a couple of the systems I was cooking up basically take advantage of some of the human body's pathways. So I had like the neural pathway through like the electric signals coursing through the system's nerves is like one of the systems I wanted to look at. The other systems were the breathing systems and the blood flow systems as well. I kind of wanted to use those for something or other. I think like with the breath, for example, I was thinking of having it be the cultivation system, and then the blood system being more for aura, and then nerves for magic. I think that's what I originally had in mind.
I like that. We'll have to give that some more thought once we think about what we can do with it, I presume. One thing before I forget, that goes very well with what we're talking about. So you're saying some of the classes, for example, could be pronunciation and drawing magic circles, right? But I haven't. There's a very I think one very particular idea that's not really explained in the anime, but I do know the way the magic system in V0 works. There's one particular aspect of it that I think you should steal for the based on what I've heard from this. So the way the magic circles work, right? You draw them, and then you activate them with an incantation. That's correct?
In theory, for now, yes.
So,
basically, the idea, was to essentially use mana to draw the magic circles, maybe, and that would be like connected to your nervous system. So you basically train to feel and like enhance your own nervous system for that purpose.
Yeah, so the way I would see it is you kind of the magic circle like preps the spell, and then when you say the incantation, it releases your mana to like activate it.
Yes.
Exactly. So in ReZero, the way it works is similar. There's no magic circle, but you kind of get the spell, then with the incantation you basically release your mana. But there's if there's an incantation, yeah.
Basically, sorry. Let me say this real quick. So basically, with drawing the magic circle, it uses your mana. So when you speak the incantation, it doesn't use your magic to activate it. It uses the magic already in the magic circle to activate it, which is where the magic engineering application comes into play of having like inscriptions of magic circles on objects, because it's basically a form of technology for commoners to use for the convenience and quality of life. It's not having magic.
Okay. I see. I think what I'm getting at, I really rambled longer than necessary, is if there's incantations, depending on how long they are, there could be universal or near universal prefixes and suffixes.
Let me put it this way. The purpose of the incantation isn't a requirement for the spell. I would say the incantation, if anything, is more so a convenient trigger to help visualize the shape of the will you're hoping to exert on the world. So, for example, if you're creating a magic circle for the purpose of like creating a flame through heat via thermodynamics, basically you would pronounce a different incantation word based on the intensity of the flame that you're hoping to manifest in accordance with whatever thing you have. So I would say whatever you say at the time of using it doesn't really matter. You can come up with your own word or preference or whatever you want to say or use. It doesn't matter. It's more so what you imagine and how you visualize it, just as a catalyst to help you exert it.
Okay, so I guess the idea is redundant. What I was gonna say is, like for example, in the show, like the incantation for fire is Goa, and then like depending on the strength.
We're not coming up with an original language for magic, basically.
Yeah, no, I wasn't saying that.
Yeah.
I was just saying, if there's an incantation for a fire spell, like for thermodynamics, and you can determine a certain temperature, then you could have like a suffix or prefix, and it applies to all the spells, and one is like low strength, one is medium, one is high or something.
Like fucking Argidine, Bufula, whatever. Yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Or Fundara, Fundaga.
Is that from something?
Final Fantasy and Persona.
I actually haven't played any Final Fantasy.
Yeah. But no, those are very well already in existence. But so basically it gives players the agency of freedom as well in terms of like flavor, because like if someone wants to say "flame on" when they activate the hottie fineness.
What if I wanted to use? What if I wanted to do like a 5-sentence over-the-top Chuny incantation?
Yes, you can. Basically, the magic circle itself is the type of magic you want to use. The incarnation is just it's not even required. It's just a catalyst to help visualize.
Okay.
So if you want to say a 5-sentence thing is you like bring out the power of the dark flame dragon that is sealed behind the bandages in your left arm, then yes, you can.
Yeah, I was going for Mega Man there. That was one thing I was doing for the other system. It was creating builds and also kind of using the rune system to come up with a few like stock spells for the different runes, and then sometimes make a Chuny incantation for them, which was very enjoyable.
Yeah. So if someone wants to be a Chuny, they can indeed be a Chuny. They'll probably get bullied for it, and rightfully so, but they can do it.
Oh yeah, that's the goal. I did do a Chuny character or try once, and it's one thing to actually write the incantations, but
It's
to
another
actually
shit.
have the nerve to say them, I just couldn't.
Bruh, you give me that list and I'll fucking say them any day of the week. But in all seriousness, back to the classes themselves. So can you see what's on my screen?
Um. Twitch, right?
Yeah. Can you see magic classes?
Give me a sec. No.
Well,
no. Maybe stream on Discord.
I'll be pretty lucky. I'll just read them out to you. So currently I have a class for the mana/nervous system, just for like learning about the system, how to circulate it, how to feel your mana. Basically, mana 101. Also have a magic theory class, probably like the application of how magic is used, blah 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 blah. And then a magic circle class, which is basically the basics of how to formulate a magic circle. And then the pronunciation class, which is basically how to basically pronunciate the words, or like to help catalyze your will of the world. I think I'll do without Regans, because I think don't say it. I think a magic system which requires the utilization of magical components is more fitting for an alchemy system, which I kind of want to have be its own separate thing away from this, which is nice.
I can think of like nearly infinite other classes, if you bear with me for a second.
Well, I also have the magic application and magic engineering classes outside of that.
Oh, okay. One of my ideas was magic, so magic applications, so some like example ways you could use it, but you could also do like so there could be one on magic applications where they teach you just a couple examples, but there could also be one that's more historically focused, like common applications of magic.
History of magic.
Yeah, so I was thinking there could be a history of magic one, and then there could also be so magic application could be ways that the students themselves can apply it. Common applications could be the way it's used in the world, or like more day-to-day you could do on this day-to-day applications of magic.
Yeah, no, that's good. Day-to-day magic, and that'll kind of apply more to the magic engineering side, whereas combat magic will be more like a practical application of magic for military use. So basically, you're either in this school to become a part of the magic troop, or part of the magic engineering. One or the other, basically.
Yeah. Another one could be ethics of magic. Is it okay to burn someone alive from the inside out?
I don't know if I really care about teaching ethics in the magic school, because basically, at the end of the day, the classes themselves are more for the players to be able to enjoy it, as well as the player characters. So if you got like a real person playing, it doesn't really matter as much as we teach them about ethics in a magic school in game, because basically the thing I have in mind is with these magic classes for the schools, the magic school adventure I plan on designing, I basically want to actually create teachers who teach these classes with an actual curriculum.
Are you actually going to have lessons? Are you actually going to write lessons though?
Yes.
Okay, instead of ethic, what about law?
Okay, no, that is interesting.
Magical laws.
Like, yeah, how that applies in the real world and when and where you can't use magic. No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other suggestions?
If you give me 5 minutes to pull up, you know what? I'm gonna keep my source a secret. How about you just give me 2 minutes, and I might have a lot of new ideas.
No worries. Tell ChatGPT I said hi.
It's not ChatGPT.
Ooh, interesting.
It's not AI.
Tell Google I said hi. Tell Reddit I said hi.
No.
Yeah, that'll be YouTube.
No, I'm looking at my I'm looking at the Carleton University undergraduate, which is an alphabetical list of like 30 courses, and I'm wondering how many of them work in a magical context.
You just like put magic in front of it. That's not a bad idea, to be honest. Magic and business. I don't know if it would really apply to business, because it's more applied to products in terms of the engineering sense.
Yeah. What about, let me look at your list. Magic circle, magic pronunciation. I'm not sure how much overlap there is, but there would likely have to be, and again, I'm not sure if this is one you'd actually want to make a curriculum for, but there would have to be something that's not even necessarily magic based, but just actual construction. Like if you're building a magic artifact, you need to know how to, say you're building a magic sword, right? You actually need to know how to build a sword.
Well, that might be under the magic engineering class, I would say.
Okay, yeah, okay. And I'm assuming, I mean, if you're thinking of...
I didn't tell you this earlier, but basically how magic is going to work in terms of like engineering and stuff is that there are different materials that are more fond of magic than others. So like iron, bronze, steel, whatever. While you may be able to inscribe a magic circle on them, the materials themselves may only be able to withstand the application of the magic once before like shattering as a result. Whereas other materials like mithril, they can basically reuse and repurpose magic permanently. Whereas other materials like adamantium, they like nullify magic completely, so you can't even inscribe a circle on it in the first place, and it like cancels magic out when colliding with it.
Ooh, that is interesting. That's also a good way to balance the knights. You could have these like mage hunter knights.
Yeah.
Like adamantium
Templars,
armor.
Inquisitors. Yeah.
Yeah. What was I gonna say? God, I completely forgot. I'm not getting too much here, actually.
I mean, I think that's a good list to start with anyway, because it's not like I need to make the entire curriculum now, but basically I'm liking the idea of like an end of year exam, and I think I mentioned briefly before, like how you start at level 0 before you hit level 1. So I'm thinking like, since the first year of magic schooling would theoretically be in the School of Magic of your choice, I would say the basic Magic 101 would take place prior to your actual schooling, and that'll be part of like the entrance exams to actually get in. So that's like the level 0 to get into the school and just make sure you have a base understanding of the basics of magic before you do the specialized institutional teaching.
Yeah, then you would... Then it becomes a matter of getting specialized classes in these disciplines of magic, which might end up scarily turning into like actual thermodynamics classes, which is a little terrifying.
Well, that's That's the point. Yeah, like there'll be like different applications of the different schools of magic, so you're gonna have to take different classes depending on the school of magic you're in.
Yeah. And ironically, when I'm scrolling through my list, I just got to optical systems and sensors.
Nice. Alrighty. But yeah, no, I think I'm pretty happy with those classes for now. Yeah, so I guess there'd be like a class per year level of each of them, and they basically increase in intensity as you approach graduation or whatever, essentially.
Remember, are you gonna include like you could have tutorials, you could have seminars, you could have lectures.
Well, I think it'll mostly just be like a class for the teacher. So you have the teacher for the different schools teaching whatever variation of class. And basically they give the lecture, interact with the students in a roleplay format. And basically as you kind of like play throughout the school year, you like do all of these classes in between your other activities, and then at the end of the year you do an actual exam.
You're gonna make us study? That's fucked up.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun if it's like magic.
I think it's fun too. I'm joking.
But yeah, no, I think that's a cool way to do it. So I think that's a good like foundation for how the magic school itself would work, and I'm thinking maybe either a once a year tournament with the night school, just for like some practical application of combat, or
or
maybe that's only like when they graduate as third years. What's up?
Not instead, but as well as like an actual tournament, right? With all the students participating and a bunch of matches. Just also include a dueling club.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Just for one-on-ones.
Yeah.
Teacher supervised, of course.
And since there'd be a tournament versus the night school, they'd probably want the most prestigious of their students to participate. So I'd say maybe an inter-school magic tournament as well. So maybe there's like 4 semesters or 3 trimesters of things they do, and basically one of the semesters will be a field trip or an expedition to a dungeon or an outside location or something like that, for it's like a practical excursion. Another will be an inter-school tournament with magic users to like stimulate competition and creativity and see which students excel in which areas. Maybe a magic engineering competition to like create an object or whatever, and then like the year ends with the tournament versus the knights, with the best of the best,
Yeah.
whoever won the tournaments earlier in the year.
And I think the tournaments should also be both solo and like duos, or solo and trios, or solo and teams, or something like that.
So it'll be
because I can picture.
It'll be similar to how I'm planning the
the Summer
Festival
Games
tournament. So it'll be like 1v1s, 2v2s, and group versus groups.
Yeah, because I could picture like the optics people not necessarily being great at 1v1s, but maybe being amazing in team fights or something.
For sure. I think for the inter-school magic one, just like intra-school rather, that might be limited to one-on-ones, I would say, just because of just because it's more for like the creative application of magic rather than necessarily winning, whereas the other one's more like winning with the top students.
Yeah, so that they represent to get people who are good enough to represent the school.
Yeah, so maybe you could have like 1v1s just within the same school of magic, if that makes sense.
Yeah, although if like adamantine you said negates all magic, literally is there anything a magic user can do against a guy in adamantine plate?
Well,
Can it be beaten?
How rare and how difficult is adamantium to get?
I'm sure it is, but that's I still don't think there should be a way to just 100% be magic users.
Well, the thing is like everyone has to have like some kind of weakness. So even if an adamantium wearer basically has magic immunity, there would still have to be like some spot on the armor which isn't like completely covered. Like you still have to have like eye holes to see through or some bullshit like that. It's like a dragon's scales. You know, you're not gonna complain about a dragon's scales like getting full protection or something, are you?
No.
Yeah, you had to.
Although if dragon scales were 100% indestructible, that would be a little bullshit.
Yeah. Well, dragons are basically natural disasters in this world, so. But aside from that, what I'm thinking is like having complete immunity is not typically possible. Having a near immunity is fine, because if it's only a near immunity, then there's always a solution for a player to come up with to creatively get around the limitations or restrictions posed on them based on the skill sets they have. That's what I find enjoyable personally. It really helps stimulate more creative play, because if you have like adamantium saying, oh, it makes you immune to magic, but the gameplay purpose is, oh, it makes you immune to magic, but it only reduces magic damage by half, you can still hurt them, then what's the point? It takes away the allure, the specialness of the armor, and I don't want magic itself to be so omnipotent that it has like no weakness or something, because everything's got to have some kind of limitation, you know?
Okay, fair enough then.
But yeah, I guess what we could do, let me see. I'm just gonna reread these magic classes. So you got magic circles, magic pronunciation, application, engineering, theory, history of magic, blah blah blah. So that's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 classes. Exams at year's end plus 1 pre-enrollment. But yeah, I want to think about like having one major event per semester / trimester, whatever, as I was mentioning before. So we've got the an inter-school magic tournament, along with the tournament versus the knights, and then exams as well. So I think that's like 4 pretty major events throughout the year that kind of gives a mix of stuff. So magic combat, magic versus martial combat, an expedition, and an exam. So yeah, we'll have a 4-semester school year. Semester school year, 3 year levels.
Yo,
Yo.
I wasn't sure if you could hear me, so I left and rejoined.
Oh, hello.
Anyway, I have to go at the latest in 7 minutes because that is when it is 3 a.m.
No worries. I was just thinking it's nearly time for dinner for me as well, if anything, so I'll probably wrap up here shortly myself. But, thank you for joining me,
Wait, what?
buddy.
What time is it over there?
It's 5 p.m.
Oh my gosh. 3 a.m., 5 p.m. Kind of crazy. Because I know that when we finish D&D at 9:30, it's like lunchtime for you, but I never really knew exactly what time.
Yeah, I get you.
Anyhow, I'm gonna brush my teeth and go to bed. Have a good one, man.
Sounds good. Thank you for...
I can feel like my voice fading.
Yeah.
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, no, I'm probably going to be doing more tomorrow at some point, so up to you if you want to join on or whatnot.
Depends on what I'm up to. Well, depends on when it is tomorrow. I'll keep an eye on the... Are you just going to be in this channel, probably?
Yes.
Okay. Because it's kind of a pain to keep an eye on the Twitch, but I can definitely keep an eye on the Discord.
Yeah, cool. Alright, I'll see you around.
Okay, see ya. Well, I'm
Alright.
looking forward to kind of working on this a little more.
Yeah, glad you enjoyed it.
I...
Boy.
Yeah, no, I love this kind of shit. See ya.
Alrighty. Thank you guys for watching. This is me. Please no ban. I read rules, but I was born this way. Lol. Wait. Wait, is that... I have no idea who was typing. I'm sorry I missed you there. But thanks for stopping by as well. Yeah, no, I'll do some more tomorrow if anyone else comes by. Ta-ta for now.